So we're going to give it a shot, right? You may never see this again. So I'm just going to go, and I want you to say stop, okay, on any card. But I'm going to show it to you, and I want you to just focus on it, all right? And I might show a couple of you right here to keep her honest, okay? So when we come back to it, and you have to remember the card, because if you don't, it's not a good trick, okay? Just so, yeah, you just say stop. Right there. You see that card? Now, I don't want you to see it, okay? I don't want the rest of the room to see it. Can you all see that card over here just a little bit? Right there. Can you all make that out? Okay. And it's okay if I see it, right? But yeah, I want you to remember that card because I don't want you to see it, okay? Brady. Yeah. All right, you ready for this? Yeah. So this, I tell you what, I'll make it easy, okay? I want you to select a card, but don't let me see it, okay? Oh. See, no, I'm looking at him, right? I say, no, I tell you what, I know there's a lot of pressure up here, right? Are you nervous right now? A little bit, okay. Well, so am I. Sorry. Remember, I've only done this once, right? All right, so I want you to take a couple of cards and pick like two together. It's okay. Yeah, don't let me see them. Just make sure that they're different from each other. Okay. Now put them behind your back. I mean, they're not. When I say different, they're not two jokers or right. Okay. So now just start mixing them up behind your back. Okay. So top, bottom to top, bottom to top, bottom, and then reverse it. So even you might not know the order of those two. And so when you think that they're mixed up behind your back, are you still concentrating on your card, right? Got that? Okay. And when you're convinced that they're shuffled, you can stop, okay? Now, I want you to bring just one from behind your back. Keep the other one behind your back. I want you to bring one out, face down, right there on my palm. I'll put that with the rest. And now that leaves you with one behind your back. Now, nobody knows what the two cards were. And now with those two cards, we don't even know what the one is that you ended up selecting, right? Behind your back. Yeah. You've been thinking of a card, right? For the first time, I want you to tell this room the card that you've been thinking of.
8 of clubs.
Is that right? Was it? Eight of clubs. All right, Brady. Now, man, you have no idea what card's behind your back, right? So there's no way I know, and the rest of this room doesn't know. For the first time, there's a camera right there to the back. If you would just slowly show it right to the camera. Sit there. Yes. Thank you, thank you. Thanks. Give these two a round of applause and the package here. Thank you so much. Oh man, that's some good stuff, right? All right, we're going to get really into the good stuff now. I want to introduce a couple of partners that are going to help us keep this all thing, down the center and in between the rails. The two MCs for today. Really need no introduction. Steve Rappaport, the TV 29 news anchor. I don't know where he is, right? Oh, there he is, sitting at my table. Okay. Yeah. So he's the guy that we all can trust, right? Because he comes into our living room every night, right, giving us the news. We thank you. So I'm gonna introduce him, and then with him is the new voice of the Cavaliers. Does the radio play-by-play for football and basketball, Mr. John Freeman. So you'll get to meet him right now. Both of those guys, come on up. Do you want this thing? Yeah, okay.
As you can tell, Jimmy Miller is a pretty good experience. We get magic tricks just about every time we go out to dinner. What he also doesn't tell you is that sometimes when the referees come up, we sit courtside, he also takes selfies with them. And they're oftentimes a little bit confused about it.
It's like, what, I've been asked, what are you going to do with these?
Does he have trouble figuring out which way to point the camera when he does it with them, or just today?
The last thing I want him to do is make Virginia Tech disappear from the bracket. Can we do that, please?
Hey, there might be some Tech fans in here. All right, okay, maybe not. All right.
Somebody play him off.
Yeah, okay,
Out of here.
These two right here.
Get it started, Steve.
All right, let's do this. All right, so for everyone who's back after a couple of years gone, welcome. I'm glad we can do this and everybody kind of be in person again. There are some changes this year, so we want to make some notes so you get all your brackets taken care of correctly. This year we were asking our bracketologists just to kind of focus on their final 4 picks. And then maybe who they expect to win it all, some other highlights, but rather than go through all 68 teams and whatnot. And we also have a feeling that this year there won't be this whole mass pick of one team that everyone favors. We just want to try just to mix it up just for 1 year. All right, so right now, let's get into the competition. You can reserve your online bracket, okay? There are 3 ways you can do that this year. In your program, there's a QR code. You can just scan that with your phone. That'll take you right to where you can register. Nice and simple. You can do it the way we have in the past sometimes. You can just send an email to bb@pcasa.org. Send that with your name in it. Those instructions also in the program, so easy enough. 2 easy ways to get involved.
Yes. So we also have a bunch of prizes, which is a wonderful thing to get if you put together a well-done bracket. We have a 65-inch Sony Smart LED UHD TV. I don't even know what UHD stands for, but it sounds like something you would want. Donated by Crutchfield, thankfully. And in the event of a tie, we'll go to a lottery. There are also prizes during different rounds. And then when you also go to the link that you'll receive, there is an online auction with things like basketball signed by head coach Tony Bennett, jersey signed by former Virginia football player Chris Long, U-Haul bricks signed by Ralph Sampson, a couple more. I think there's also a dinner cooked in your home by Jimmy Miller. Yeah.
Among other people who can cook.
Yes.
But Jimmy will be there also.
So a whole lot of good prizes and also auction items.
All right, the TV, by the way, will go to the person that has the most successful bracket. So no pressure. All right, more online tournament and auction stuff. We have prizes that we'll give out today. So you don't have to wait for all these good things. So we're going to do this. This is new, okay? Everyone reach under the front of your chair and check to see if you have a piece of paper taped under your chair. Now people are going, I knew I should have sat over there. All right, if there's something there, if you have a piece of paper, you are a winner, so stand up at your table if you have a piece of paper under your chair.
All right.
Let's make sure we're okay with all these people winning. Is there someone you want to change? All right, if your slip of paper says Gerhardt's, guess what you won? Who's got Gerhardt's? Did I hear? No, but we get, if nobody has it, do you? If nobody has it, we split it? Is that how that works?
Well, we want the wine. That's coming
Oh,
next.
All right, so if you had Gerhardt's, you win chocolate. Raise your hand if your slip of paper says Dogwood and Thistle.
All right.
Nice little wine gift bag. And you have to share, whoever wins, you have to share with everybody in the room. All right, if you have a slip of paper that says basketball. Wow.
Or
Check-
somebody
yeah.
should just start
ACAC
going
has
right
all the
here on this
prizes.
table.
Check your friends' chairs.
Coach Ryan's going for it.
All right, if you wind up with a piece of paper that says basketball, you have a basketball signed by Tony Bennett as your prize. Now people will check. Okay. Everyone else that found a piece of paper under their chair has a signed copy of one of our bracketologists, is an author, is an up-and-coming author. you have a copy of Macon's new book. No, of John Grisham's new book, Sully, that he has autographed. So that's all the people that had papers.
Did we give away the wine? Did we give away the wine?
Shh, about the wine.
Okay.
It's breakfast. We'll have breakfast later.
All right. Let's get right to it. Let's welcome up our 4 esteemed panelists here, our bracket experts. You may or may not want to take their advice when filling out your own bracket. And we'll start with the 9th president of the University of Virginia, also known as our sports fan-in-chief. When he's not at the game or focusing on making the school in Charlottesville a better place, you can probably see him running very fast around Charlottesville. He just finished the Boston Marathon in 3 hours and 2 minutes. Yes. That is a 6:58 pace for those who are calculating. He will maybe walk up to the stage, maybe run up to it. It is President Jim Ryan. As a child, John Grisham dreamed of being a professional baseball player. We all know he shifted gears and became a lawyer, and then a little direction change after that as well. Since 1989, he has written 37 novels, all while staying involved in this community, being an avid Who's fan. I always say the New York Knicks have Spike Lee. We have John Grisham courtside at the John Paul Jones Arena. Bring up author John Grisham.
All right, adding to the mix, Macon Gunter is an associate broker at the Ness Realty Group, where he represents buyers and sellers of homes and land in Charlottesville, Albemarle, and beyond. He also co-hosts Greenlight with Chris Long, which is a sports and pop culture podcast. They've had some random guests like Charles Barkley, Matthew McConaughey, Shaquille O'Neal. Macon was the Virginia Sports Radio Network statistician for 13 years before retiring his headset last year. He helped produce broadcasts from JPJ and Scott Stadium, also at Madison Square Garden and the Rose Bowl. Lives in Ivy with his wife Kate and daughter Edie. And this isn't on here, but he told me I had to say that he has picked the champion of at the last 2 bracket breakfasts we've hosted. He has picked the champion. He wanted me to mention that. Yeah.
Big deal.
All right, come on up, Macon.
Big deal. I think we all picked in 2019. I can't believe I picked. No.
You weren't supposed to say I told you to say that.
Oh, I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I know. I know. Good to see you. How you doing?
All right, Macon has picked a champion of a basketball tournament. Caroline Darney spent 8 years active duty in the Navy as an aviator before switching to the world of sports journalism. She's covered multiple NCAA championships, ACC championships, and the College World Series in the last 7 years. Please welcome Caroline Darney.
We often see Caroline at John Paul Jones Arena, and she is known for the best footwear among all the media, a Air Jordan aficionado.
I told him I knew I had to wear sneakers today because he would say something like that, and if I didn't have Jordans on, I would be embarrassed. So, sorry, Mom, for sneakers with the fancy attire.
All right, so we've got a bunch of questions for our panelists. I think we'll start with President Ryan. And President Ryan, first of all, are you obligated as a president of a state university to favor other state universities in the bracket. We've got a bunch from Virginia this year. Norfolk State, we've got Virginia Tech, we've got Richmond in the bracket as well. Any of those teams do you
Longwood.
see? Longwood as well from the Big South.
Yeah. I think I have an obligation to support all but one.
Name names.
No, I'm not naming. I'll leave that to your imagination.
All right, so let's do some Final Four picks. Let's cut right to the chase, okay? And we'll start with you, President Ryan. Factoring everything you know and your expertise.
Yeah. So, as a president of a major university, you probably realize I don't do any work myself. I have people who do it for me, and what they tell me is that the Final Four will be Gonzaga, Villanova, Kentucky, and Auburn. Now, I am kidding a little bit. I actually did a decent amount of work to prepare for this. I watched a lot of basketball. Unfortunately, it was almost entirely ACC basketball. And what I learned from watching ACC basketball is there will not be an ACC team in the Final Four this year. Beyond that, I did see Gonzaga play a game early in the season, and I usually think that Gonzaga is overrated because they have a soft schedule, but not this year. I think they're completely legit. I chose Kentucky because of John Calipari's hair. I mean, you can't beat that. And then Villanova, I think they're a really strong tournament team. And Auburn, honestly, I picked because I can never remember where Auburn is, and I thought if I pick them for the Final Four, I'll finally remember. Those are my picks.
And quick follow-up.
Yeah.
Where is Auburn?
Alabama. Auburn, Alabama.
It's Auburn.
Yeah. I now know that. Yeah. And hopefully I'll remember it next year.
It's very impressive.
Thank you.
Did that help everybody a little bit?
Yeah. You can count on those picks.
All right, Mr. Grisham, your Final Four picks for this year.
Are they up yet? By the way, I haven't picked a Final Four team correctly in the last 20 years. But
You're due.
I asked my guys who were at table 12, I told them all to bring their Final Four picks to help me out. So they picked. Gonzaga got 5 votes. Kentucky got 4. Arizona got 3. And surprisingly, Kansas and Virginia Tech got 3 votes each. So that's that crew over there. I wouldn't bet on any of those picks. I'm tired of Gonzaga. I disagree. They are overrated. They do this every year. They roll in with a big fat record because they play in a weak conference, and they lay an egg. Last year they were number 1 all year. They got blown out in the title game.
I saw it. Yeah.
So I'm not going with Gonzaga.
All right. That makes me feel better.
Don't bet on Gonzaga. Duke got 1 vote, but anyway, I'm going to all SEC final.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the strongest conference. There's so many great teams. I'm picking my dark horse. We're supposed to pick a dark horse. That's my final winner. Is Tennessee because they're red hot. They beat Kentucky 2 out of 3 games this year. They beat North Carolina by 17. They beat Arizona in December. Those games don't count, as we know, because they're in December. But anyway, that's my pick, all SEC.
Now, full disclosure, you are a SEC school alum, correct?
I'm an SEC, yes, very much so, except for basketball. We've lived here for almost 30 years, and we've become very big ACC basketball fans. My wife's a Tar Heel, so we go to every home game here and every home game down there. So we get a lot of basketball. That's what we do all winter. I love the ACC basketball. It's always strong except for this year. And the SEC is just, it's a football conference, football and baseball. And so it's never, strong. I think Kentucky won, 10 years ago? That was the last SEC school to make a run. But I think this is the year. They have so many great teams. Auburn, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama on my bracket will knock off Gonzaga in the regional. Don't bet on that.
Wait, that's why we're here.
By the way, it's great to be on this panel with somebody who really knows basketball. Caroline is a real sports writer, okay? Normally we're stuck here with Barry Parkhill, who knows basketball, but Barry played back in like the 1950s when he wore his shorts so short you could see his buns. Love Barry. I just a cheap shot at Barry, but it's nice to have a real expert with us for a change.
It's a lot of pressure now.
Well, we're saving her for last.
Geez, I already forgot who Jim picked after all that.
Yeah, that's
Gonzaga,
just as
Gonzaga.
well.
All right, Macon Gunter.
By the way, did you know that Macon, the last 2 times we've done this, picked the national champion?
You know, it's difficult to get a word in edgewise with a guy who literally gets paid by the word.
What's wrong with that?
Good work if you can get it, huh? Jim, how much did you weigh as a freshman?
In college,
That's right.
probably 205.
Okay. Chet Holmgren, Gonzaga, 7 feet tall, 195. 7 feet, 195. Out of Minneapolis. If you haven't heard of him yet, you soon will. I really like Gonzaga. President Ryan, excellent pick. 5 guys in double figures, 3 of them shoot 40%. I like UCLA to get back to the Final Four. They have the core of that team from last year who faced Gonzaga in the Final Four. Jaquez, Juzang, Tiger Campbell. On the other side, Arizona's really good. This is their 7th 1 seed, first in 8 years. They won 15 of 16. Benedict Mathurin, 6'6" guard from Montreal. He wears number 0. And then that Midwest, I think, is going to be wide open. A lot of high ceiling, low floor teams this year. I like Wisconsin to make it. They have wins over A&M and Marquette, Houston, St. Mary's in the non-con, and then won the regular season Big Ten. Johnny Davis that's what you do. These analysts, you name a team and then list a bunch of the players, and it acts like you act like you know what you're talking about. So Gonzaga, UCLA, Arizona, Wisconsin are my 4.
Pretty good picks. All right, now we
He
have.
just called out my strategy of listing a team.
This
and
all
then
leads
saying-
all leads up to.
This
Now,
is
the only person who's actually paid to cover sports on this stage, we have Caroline Darney from
This is-
USA Today.
terrifyingly stressful now. So I also picked Gonzaga as my champion. I think that this is a year that they've had success getting to the Final Four. There is a lot to be said about how what their schedule is, if they're a soft 1 seed, if it's et cetera. I just think that this year, I think the WCC was much more difficult this year. You've seen St. Mary's and also San Fran made the tournament. And BYU was a pretty good team too. They were on the bubble for a while. So 3-bid WCC is unusual, but it happened this year. And so I really like, you talked about Chet Holmgren, you got Drew Timme. Maybe it's partly because I'm like, one of these years they've got to do it. So I'm going to keep saying it until they do. But they have the versatility. They've got good guard play with Andrew Nembhard. Anyway, so actually I've got a lot of similar teams in there. So I also went with Arizona. That's partly because I've heard they're really good, but they play on the West Coast. So I'm not entirely sure because it's way past my bedtime. So I just believe that that's actually a pretty good team. And there's a great storyline there because Tommy Lloyd was an assistant for Gonzaga. So if they do meet in the championship game, you gotta love the storylines. And then I've got a little bit of I think it might be guilt from 2019, but I have both Purdue and Auburn in my Final Four. I was filling it out and I was like, oh, I feel so bad. Oh, it must have been so terrible for you. But Purdue is a team that they've really been streaky. Their defense is not good, which I know this is a room where people love defense, and that worries me about them. But they do have another strong forwards and a really, really good guard. And so I like that combo. And I don't know, Bruce Pearl, he has the experience a little bit. They've got some really, really good guard play, some young guys. Walker Kessler was a UNC transfer, and he's just been lighting it up in the post for them. So I think that's my 4.
Any of you guys have a sleeper that nobody's thinking about, besides Gonzaga, that you think might cause some trouble? Yeah.
2 words, Bula Bula. Yeah, I know, let's hear it. Okay, it's my alma mater. Unfair to say Yale is a Cinderella team. I mean, they're such a basketball powerhouse. But I feel good about them going into the tournament, and they're battle tested. They just beat the mighty Princeton Tigers in Ivy Madness, and so I think they're ready for the big dance. Just keep an eye on them. You heard it here
I
first.
kind of regret asking now.
I think I'm going to go back to WCC. I really promise I'm not like a underground West Coast Conference like aficionado. But St. Mary's as a 5 seed is a team that I actually kind of like. They're again, as a good Virginia alum, I'm going to pull up KenPom and talk about KenPom and advanced analytics. So they're number 16 on KenPom. So like the statistics like them. As a 5 seed, I like them. But otherwise, like my big upset picks, South Dakota State, Jackrabbits, they play wild, fast. And they've got probably the weakest 4 seed against Providence. Providence has played in a ton of close games, and that could be a trendy pick, but also might be one that everyone else in your bracket is doing. So if you're filling out a bracket and you actually want to win, maybe that's one to stay away from, because everyone else might be taking it.
Macon, can we get some names and teams, please, for your Cinderella pick?
I will piggyback and name the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Providence was not in a close game most recently when they got blown out in the Big East tournament. And Iowa, again, I wouldn't overvalue conference champs. 6 of the last 7 national champions have not been automatic qualifiers. And I think we tend to think about Iowa, Tennessee, the team in Blacksburg when they win their conferences, but that's a lot of games to play leading up to the tournament. So maybe some dead legs. I like the Jackrabbits shoot the ball very well from 3, and they haven't lost a game since December the 15th. Also a 12 seed UAB. They have a 5'10" guard named Jelly Walker.
Jelly Walker.
What else do you need to know?
Show off.
Yeah.
Show off.
Jelly Walker. Well, that leads us to the next question is we've got our Cinderella picks, but what first-round upsets, other than Yale over Purdue, should we be most intrigued by? President Ryan.
Why don't we let John go first? Because he didn't.
I can't recall who's in the first round. You didn't ask me about my dark horse pick. I was going to include, because it's an all SEC year, obviously, I was going to include my school, Mississippi State, as overall national champion.
I'd be careful of that.
They didn't make the tournament. That's a problem there.
Yeah. That would be a real.
They're coming here Wednesday night.
They did make a tournament. I don't know if I would pick them in this room.
Yeah. So I still would like to see State win. I can't recall who's in the first round. I can't pick on that first round upset. Can you?
I can pick one. I mean, there is, and I'm a little hesitant. It's a scrappy team from Virginia. They've done well recently. And of course, I'm talking about Richmond over Iowa.
like
Perfect
that pick.
12-5 upset.
I like that pick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow,
I'll tell you,
professional.
Rick Wampler, who has also won this thing in the past, gave me a good card about Cinderellas, and the 11-5 games are always pretty good too, especially the last few years. So 2017, Xavier made the Elite 8 as an 11 seed. 2018, Loyola Chicago made the Final 4 as an 11. Last year, UCLA was an 11 seed. This year, we have Michigan, Iowa State, what's it called in Blacksburg, and Rutgers, Notre Dame. And then he wanted me to say that COVID took the whole thing down as a 19. Rick Wampler. But 11-5, I think I saw last night that like 5 of the last 7 matchups between the 11 has beaten the 5.
Now, we do have to say, we did get clarification from the tournament bracket scoring committee for Jimmy Miller's pool. You do not get extra credit for picking upsets. There's a lot of brackets where if you pick the 12 over the 5, you get 7 bonus points because of the difference. So pick your upsets wisely. And let's go to our professional help here for our upset picking.
I'm making sure I got all my ducks in a row. This isn't as big of an upset. Loyola Chicago over Ohio State, when that popped up, I was like, ooh, I like, their first year head coach, Drew Valentine of Michigan State lore, if you remember Drew Valentine. But they've played really, really well, and they're right in that sweet spot to make another run. But I also think my big one is going to be Chattanooga over Illinois. I think the Big Ten has had some really, really good moments. but I don't know that I trust any of them. Actually, Wisconsin might be the only one because I really like Johnny Davis. But yeah, I think that the Mocs have looked really strong, and they're the type of team that can give you fits. So I think Chattanooga over Illinois is going to be my random one.
You didn't pick Chattanooga?
No.
Hey, Steve, here you go. 11 seeds, 23 and 21 in the first round since 2010. So I'll pick Michigan as an 11 over Colorado State. Unfortunately, there have been 2 other teams from the Commonwealth who have made the Final Four as an 11. VCU in 2011 and George Mason in 2006. So I personally am hoping that the Hokies do not continue that trend.
I will say there's a pretty good chance they win that first round matchup. I hate saying it, but that Texas Tech game could be really closer than we'd like, I think.
Chris Beard, trust in Chris Beard.
Yeah, I was like, wait, because I said Texas Tech, and you're right,
It's
now he's at
confusing.
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, he's not the coach there anymore.
Yeah.
So let's pick that game. Virginia Tech versus Texas.
Texas by 75.
Do they have an equivalent of Jelly
Walker.
Walker on Texas?
It doesn't matter. We can't take another week of this.
I'd take the Hokies based on the last 3 games they played. I mean, what they did in the ACC tournament is remarkable. They're red hot, and they beat Carolina and Duke by, 15 points each. Nobody saw that coming. Played 4 games in a row, and they're playing extremely well. And Texas is really up and down. I would take the Hokies. How much you want to bet? $5.
Okay.
Do they have to win by 75?
What's the line? Do we know yet? No lines?
Well,
What's the Hokie line?
I bet that'll be close to a pick 'em. Texas has lost 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Tech is not.
I like Chris Beard, but I'd take the Hokies.
If Tech loses, or if Tech wins, can John Grisham come on the pod?
I'm scared of that pod. I've heard stories about that pod. So.
I'm surprised you know what a pod is.
It's a podcast, right?
You
You don't watch it, you listen to it, right?
That's right. If you don't know what we're talking about, great. If you do, I do not recommend that particular show and its sophomore content. It's not worth your time.
I've heard rumors.
Yeah, it's not. It's different.
Texas is currently a 1.5 favorite.
There you go.
Who is?
Texas. But heart is with Macon, head is agreeing with John.
All right.
Yeah, my heart and head is totally disagreeing with John in every aspect of that prediction.
$5?
Absolutely. Actually, I'm not allowed to bet.
Can you bet?
Oh, yeah.
$5. And I got a 1.5, right?
Sure.
Do we want to quickly see Debbie Ryan in the audience, just real quick? Give us a 60-second analysis of this year's field. Go.
I'm kind of miffed by the fact that nobody brought up. First of all, good morning, everybody. Thank you. I'm kind of miffed by the fact that nobody's brought up the effect of COVID or the transfer portal in this scenario. And I agree with John Grisham on Virginia Tech. And they played 4 games in the ACC tournament, which is almost impossible to do and play as well as they did in the final. And they had a mid-major coach and a bunch of mid-major players. So recruiting and all these people we're talking about may be obsolete at this point. And a lot of those players were 5-year players because of COVID. So the question I have is, how many of your players that you are touting up here were 5th-year players, which basically they're men, and they really get it at that point. On 3rd and 2nd and 1st-year players might not get it quite yet. So I think that's part of the issue with Virginia Tech. They had a chip on their shoulders because they came from lower-level schools. They weren't recruited by the top schools. So they came in and they beat the top schools, which I think is absolutely incredible. And I think that's going to really impact this particular tournament. And I agree that Iowa's a little bit of a dark horse. I do like Gonzaga because I think they've been there. They've got some fifth-year players, and I really like their coach, Mark Few, who has really done a great job at a school that's very small and actually was on the brink of, gosh, being shut down not too long ago, and their basketball program saved them. So I really think it's an interesting year, but when you're looking at it, look at how many fifth-year guys are on these teams, and what kind of grit do they play with? Because it's going to be an interesting tournament. And if Virginia Tech can get their legs back, which I don't know after 4 games, but they're probably taking ice baths 24/7 at this point. But they're in the 3 lane, and it's great to be in the 2 and the 3 lane when you're in the 4 and the 5 lane. In other words, when you have to face that 4-5 game, you know your next game's against the number 1 seed. So it's a little bit more daunting than facing that 2 seed, and you get a little more time to prepare for the number 1 seed. So it's like the 3 and the 2, it's great to be in that seeded bracket because it's going to be a little bit, not an easier game, but mentally it's a little bit different. So as a coach, I'm looking at it from a completely different perspective. But I do feel like it's going to be a great tournament. There's going to be a lot of upsets. And I do think Virginia Tech's going to do a lot more than we think they're going to do. Yeah. And you know what? They are from Virginia.
So is Longwood.
They are from and don't count out Longwood either, because one of their top player is averaging about 15 points a game. He's the son of Donna Holt, who played here at Virginia for me and was a college All-American.
Awesome.
So
And the Longwood,
yes.
and the Longwood coach is a UVA law alum. And I would bet on a UVA law.
Well, I don't know about that, but
And a quick question for Coach Ryan. What seed was Virginia when you took them all the way to the national championship game?
oh boy, to the national championship game, we were probably a 1 or a 2. I can't remember. I mean, I don't really pay attention to that when you're actually coaching it. You really can only stay with what's right in front of you, or you're in big trouble. Believe me, anxiety lives in the future.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you,
Thank
Coach.
you, Coach. Let's get one more qualified opinion. I don't see him. He's somewhere around here.
There he is.
Barry Parkhill.
By the way, in the meantime, what if we agree to just call Tech Wofford for the
Mr. Parkhill, ACC tournament champion, I believe, back in your day. Correct?
No.
No.
Do more homework.
Well, with that, your thoughts on the bracket?
First and foremost, beyond the brackets, as a fundraiser, what a great cause CASA is, and thanks to everybody that supports it. It's phenomenal what they do, and all you guys that support it are tremendous. I'm a little bit surprised that Kansas has not come up. They're always going to be tough, and Villanova is a tough tournament-tested team, but I really don't care that much about the NCAA tournament this year. The fact that I've been thrown under the bus by John earlier this morning, I'm going to wager a dinner for our wives at Marigold's on the winner of the Mississippi State-Virginia NIT game. Pick them, no
I got
points.
Virginia.
No. I got the mic.
You're old.
I'm
Deal.
taking my boys.
And again, thanks, Jimmy, for all you do for this great cause. And thanks to everybody for the support.
And with that, why don't we bring Jimmy back up?
Hey, Jimmy, while you're coming up, may I recognize my wife, Kate?
No.
We were married in March 2020, just before the world changed. But when we were dating, she served for several years as a CASA volunteer. And to say she was invested in the lives of those children would be an understatement. And she couldn't share details of the cases with me or anyone else, but it was clear that her work was vitally important for children who otherwise wouldn't have a voice of their own to advocate for themselves. So Kate wasn't in this room 3 years ago. Glad you're here now. Wave, Kate. And we have a 1-year-old at home named Edie, and we have a baby boy on the way in August as well.
Nice.
I cede the floor.
All right, thank you, guys. Can these guys be dismissed?
Yeah. Get out of here.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, sounds like it.
All right, so we're going to close it up here, man. This is awesome, and I thank you, everybody, for your patience here as we run through the home stretch, because the real reason why we're here talking about basketball and having fun and getting the bracket picks and everything, the question is, why are we here, right? And I just want to take a quick moment to say just that, right? You know, this is to raise awareness and important dollars for Piedmont CASA. They've been around since 1995. And, you know, CASA, my wife and I have been involved for over 10 years. What is CASA? CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates, and they train young men and women like us in this room on how to go into the court systems to advocate on behalf of abused and neglected kids. And, you know, I was asked, how much, you know, how does the money get out here? What's money do? And it's roughly $2,000 to $3,000 per volunteer. So you know, $15,000 provides support for 5 volunteers. All right, these volunteers are supporting these young people, and in CASA and this Bridges to Success program, which I'll talk briefly about, but it's relatively new. There's 235 kids right now in that system. So, you know, you can do the math. 15 grand helps train 5 volunteers. You know, we're not building bricks. We don't have bricks and mortar and scholarships and whatnot. This is heavy stuff. So what you're doing here is amazing. And this Bridges to Success program, it was, let me see if I can get this right. I don't know how many years it's been around now. 4 or 5. I remember. But so those kids who transition out of foster care and become adults, right, and they're getting ready to go out on the road, that's what this Bridges to Success program does. And so this is, I get the privilege to stand up here and take a moment to introduce a young man who pardon me. So this young man is 22 years old, and he's gone through the he's been a CASA, and he's gone through the Bridges to Success program. and he's here today to take a few minutes to share his story, and so it's a privilege for me to be able to introduce him. And so Stephen Perry, let's give him a round of applause, if you will. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Stephen. I'm from Louisa, a little ways west of here. I'm 20 years old, and I have an 18-month-old daughter, Ariana. I'm one of those people who have come to love the little things in life. After being put in foster care at 15, I slowly but surely turned into an introvert. One of those people who tries to read everybody in the room. That would be a little difficult right now. Prior circumstances had turned me into an angry kid. You know how some stray dogs will try to fight you even though you're just trying to give it food or something? That was the general gist of my reactions to the different people I was meeting through foster care. Nothing was clicking for me. Until CASA got involved. CASA's job is to promote the well-being of kids and young adults in foster care and provide a voice for them in court as well as a source of mentoring. CASA assigned me a Bridges to Success coach, Gwen, who, being honest, is my best friend of 5 years and the person who wholeheartedly gave me the confidence to be here today. I also met Sherry, my CASA volunteer. It's not only obvious that she has my best interests in mind, it's obvious that she cares about me. And I promise you, coming from somebody who spent a lot of their childhood alone, that makes the biggest difference in the world. I've learned that the three most important things to people in this world is their money, time, and their loved ones. CASA has without question spent a lot of money and time on me, but these two have aced the job on making me feel loved. I'm as bipolar as the weather around here, but my Bridges coach helped me work through why I was so moody. She helped me understand that my anger and aggression towards other people was misplaced and showed me a clear view of who was trying to help me and who wasn't. Everybody has those specific moments in their lives where they struggle harder than others. I had a 6-month stint locked up in Newport News, surrounded by kids who wanted to hurt me and hurt themselves. Between the rotting subfloor and omnipresent fluorescent lights beaming down on me, I felt completely trapped. The only reason I didn't lose hope and kept pushing through was because Gwen picked up the phone every time I called. She drove the 3 hours to visit me as often as she could, and she would constantly remind me of my goals and how I could use being in a place like that to further them. My goal was to help kids stuck like me. So I started watching how my fellow inmates would act, and it became clear to me that most of them didn't have anything like a CASA. Their families had given up on them like mine had on me, but they didn't have the extra support I had. Can you imagine being 16, locked up hours away from your hometown, without anybody checking on you? Imagine having nobody to come pick you up. That's an unfortunate reality we live in. I've probably met 2,000 or 3,000 kids through the foster care system, and 98% of them clearly needed CASA intervention. My CASA volunteer, Sherry, to me at least, has a place somewhere between guardian angel and superb secretary. Any questions about pretty much anything are not too much for her to figure out. And that's really helpful because we have a really confusing legal system. I've always had access to grants and funds and bubba-duh because Sherry is at the top of her game. When it came time for me to move around, and I moved around a lot while I was in foster care, I always knew that Sherry and Gwen were going to have things ready for me. They were going to be there to help me. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan made a proclamation to make the month of May National Foster Care Month. There's a section in this proclamation where he states, "The aim of all foster care must be must be the establishment for the child of a sense of permanence and belonging. Fast forward 28 years to the last May President Barack Obama was in office. In his National Foster Care Proclamation, he states the following: as a nation, we have a duty to empower each child so that they have the same sense of promise and possibility as any other young person, no matter who they are, where they come from, or what your circumstances are. Now, the big question is, what can you, an average Joe over there, do to help kids like me? Here's what CASA's done. In 2019 to 2020, CASA volunteers amassed 139,302 volunteer hours. These hours were valued at $3,964,535. I'm sure everybody in this room has donated their money to something in their life. You're all aware of the effects that has. Every year since I got put in foster care, my CASA workers were able to drop off bags of things I had asked for at Christmas and on my birthday because people like you had donated money. You guys know what Christmas feels like. It's awesome. The most valuable thing they've given me has been their time. A person who volunteers their time to help a kid find their way back through a hard life is the kind of person I'd want to be around, especially to have my back. These two have been the stability for me this whole time. They're the only constants in a crazy, very surreal journey through foster care. Now I'm an old man, and my favorite things in the world is being able to hang out with my daughter and go fishing and stuff. My Bridges to Success coach built the bridges for me to travel to success, and my CASA volunteer advocated for me when I was confused and didn't know what to do or where to go. My daughter and I owe you guys so much. Thank you all for having me.
All right, folks, how can you get involved? So you can learn more about Piedmont CASA and being a volunteer by visiting CASA's website at pcasa.org. You can come to this event again next year. And if you haven't, if you want to consider making a gift today, there are volunteers out at the table before you leave. But thank you all so much for being here. Whew, and have a great day. Thank you.